Hey guys, Great Scott Moments, and so I want to show you something, okay, about someone's idea and vision. Okay, so this is the house that I live in, and I'm renting from, and I got some roommates here, but it's a big, beautiful house. It's got a huge porch. This is the pool, just totally nasty green with overgrown with blackberries, and there's the basketball tennis court. Over here is the sauna and other storage rooms. You know, it's got a downstairs with pool table that's just trashed, and you know, this was a place that was someone's dream and vision, and yet when someone else took it over that didn't have the dream, they never upkept it. They've let it fall behind, and the whole place is just trashed. And so that is not my dream, is to restore this place for someone else. Okay, but maybe to get my own vision of something like this in its heyday for me. But that's not the major purpose of my life right now. You know, right now I do want to be sharing and caring with a lot of people. Some of the things, the knowledge and the wisdom that I've gleaned, as well as some perspective of life. And so I want to share, you know, some of the most successful people in life, some of the richest people in the world have realized that, you know, success is never about building the great business or you know, doing stuff. It's about having the vision. Okay? So if you have a vision of something like, let me give some examples here. Like Aristotle Onassis, okay, after World War II. So what happened was all of the shipping, you know, there were ships everywhere. The war was over, and every single harbor was just overflowed with ships. Like, people were almost having to pay people to get them out of there. Okay? And so everywhere in the newspapers, all the facts said, there's too many ships, we got to get rid of them. And so what he did was he sat down at a coffee shop on a napkin. And he's like, okay, let me cast a little vision. Okay? People are saying these things. Let me see what the real facts are. He's like, so he did some numbers, and he's like, okay, so what was the shipping level like before the war, before World War II? And, you know, he went through it, and he's like, okay, and what is the shipping level right now? Well, the war just ended. There was no shipping because ships weren't on the ocean because they would have been sunk. And so, you know, he came to the conclusion that if shipping were only to go to the level that was pre-war, you know, there's not enough ships. Not enough ships in the world. And that because of the war, there were so much, you know, the Americans had gone to Europe and found pizza and, you know, all their novelties, and the Germans wanted American stuff, and the Japanese were more than happy to sell stuff in America, and just like the world had become internationalized. And he's thinking, okay, so not only is there not enough ships now, but there's going to be more ships needed than there was. So Aristotle Onassis went over the next 3-4 years and bought every single ship that he could. Put them on contract, started, you know, putting them out in the ocean. Okay? And so what happened was within 3 years from, you know, I wouldn't say he was poor, but he became the richest man in the world. Okay? Through an idea. And of course, you know, you have to have the right timing as well. But you will have the right time at the right idea when everything works out. Okay? You need to harvest your acres of diamonds. which is a book that, tells us that, like, for everyone, there are diamonds right at your foot, right at your feet right now. That, a guy who, the little story was that he, found out about these diamonds, that they're so valuable, and the clear, crystals, and just, he went out and he sold his farm, his big ranch, and went out looking all over Africa, looking for those diamonds. And he eventually died longing for them. But the guy who bought his estate, okay, found these nice, clear, shiny things, and he put them on the mantelpiece. And someone came by and he said, "Hey, what is this? Like, do you know what this is?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "This is a diamond. It's a huge diamond." He's like, "They're all over the place." And that ranch estate became one of the biggest deposits for diamonds in the world. Okay? And so here's a guy who was sitting on acres and acres and acres with diamonds flooding over, just like stones, all over the place. And yet he didn't know what the diamonds were. Okay? And so he went searching for the illustrious, whatever it may be, a riches, never knowing that he had diamonds there. And there's all kinds of stories and stories of other people who went through the same transformation, that there's riches right in your backyard. You just have to look for them. Okay? Let me tell you about another richest man in the world, is Andrew Carnegie. He was a Scotsman. So he came to America, and he didn't know, I don't know how much money he brought, but he was okay. And so he came to America, and he's like, okay, right now is a time where steel is king, so let's build a steel mill, and let's build, get the right, negotiate. But he was not a man who worked really hard. He'd get to work 9 or 10 maybe, and then he'd go to home at about 4. He'd take a lunch. There was no cell phones, no telephones, no nothing. Okay, so he only put in a minimal amount of hours, Monday through Friday, and then he took the summers off, and he'd go to Scotland. There was no way to contact him. He had other men, taking care of the business. And so the funny thing is like, it was his ideas that made his success. It wasn't the actual building the business. Okay? And he became the richest man in the world. Same as John D. Rockefeller discovered oil, and he started out as a clerk in a like a trading post, but noticed this oil thing was going on, so he built, scrambled all he could to buy this little oil container space at where he was. And so people would eventually bring all their oil into his container, and he'd hold it, and then they'd ship it off to whoever refines it. And then he got more and more involved in, okay, let's get bigger containers, and let's actually do a refinery. And then eventually there was a dip in the price of oil, and so all these people who were making some money by selling all that oil suddenly had all this oil that they were trying to send to Rockefeller, but the prices was just, he could only get like pennies for all his oil. And so, they all went out of business. And what did John D. Rockefeller do? He bought every single one of them. Okay, pennies, well, here's a couple dollars, and I'll buy your whole field. Here's a couple dollars, I'll buy your whole field. And suddenly, he owned huge acres and acres and acres and miles and miles and miles of oil-producing land. And of course, that was just a small dip in the oil price, and pretty soon there was more applications for all this oil, seeing there was, such a glut of it. And then suddenly oil became scarce again, and he was on his way to fame and fortune and buying just about every major company that's out there. And he became the richest man in the world. All of these began with someone with a dream and a vision who actually put it forth into life. And so, you know, every day I sit here in this house that's someone's vision, okay? Someone really wanted this, and it's gone to crap. Pardon the pun. And so I want you guys to know, if you can create a vision, but if you don't put any effort into it, you'll never get it. But you also have to recast visions so that you can get and find exactly what you want in life. All right? Many blessings to you guys. Bye-bye.